All information shared in this video is our educated opinion, formulated from research, judgment, analysis, education, and personal life experience. Any material used from the public domain follows fair use guidelines and applicable laws. The information can be used for illustrative, educational, and/or transformative purposes. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. This content is for education and entertainment. We encourage others to conduct proper research and, if needed, consult an attorney for legal advice regarding music licensing.
Welcome to the SyncRiffs podcast. So excited to be here. My name's Charles from Blue Buddha Entertainment here in Los Angeles. I'm a sync agent, and joining me today is my co-host, Chase Walker.
Hey.
How's it going, Chase?
Going good, man. I got my pup back there snoozing. How's things going out there in the valley?
Yeah, no, things are good. A little overcast skies, but the rain seems to be moving on. And yeah, it's going to be a great episode today. And we're going to segue picking up from last time. And today the topic is going to be the art of the pitch. But before we set that up, spend a couple minutes. We get a lot of questions about percentages when an agent is representing an artist. And if you want to set the table, Chase, typically what kind of rates can an independent artist expect? And then I can talk about how we work and what's entailed in pitching an artist song.
Definitely. So similar to the typical, standard old guard publishing industry, most everything in the sync field is split 50-50. The main difference with that between sync and your typical publisher and your typical publishing deal is that with most of, especially your bigger publishing entities, the deals involve signing over the publishing rights in totality to that publisher most often. Whereas in sync licensing, most sync agents are pitching their artists on an exclusive basis. However, the artists are retaining all of their own copyright and they're getting all of the back-end royalties most often.
100%. And, the sliding scale with independent artists, if you're a signed artist, the typical deal would be as an agent, they get 20%. However, the caveat is, being a frontline artist, they yield and command higher sync fees. So 20% of a greater number, it works out. With independent artists, there's a lot of marketing involved. If you look at our IG page, we're all about creating extra looks for the artists, because when I started in 2002, we didn't have IG or SoundCloud. But now there's multiple different touch points in which supervisors, showrunners can consume and check out an artist's music. So we have a featured artist, featured song of the week. And through this podcast, being able to interview our artists, provide behind the scenes. And so these are all additional touch points for marketing and promotion that we utilize, taking my experience being at Capitol in the 90s. So that's integral into what we do. So we start at 50-50. And if we're working in an independent artist who has a team behind them, and that's critical. So if we know an indie artist has their PR machine, they've got videos, what are the additional tools, what are the additional looks and potential demand that might be generated? So when we pitch their songs, an artist is like, yeah, I heard them on the radio. I saw them headlining an opening for a major artist. So there's built-in demand for an indie artist there. So that's sort of the lay of the land with pitching and how that can impact what rate Blue Buddha negotiates. So yeah, it's pretty standard across the board. And with that, spending some time today, questions we get is what do we do once we get the music from an artist? So one aspect is the brief, which we get from the studio that describes, I'll call it and break it down in simple terms, the who, the what, the where, breaking down a scene. So we may know they're trying to replace a song for a chase scene. And the current song that's temped into the scene is a Chemical Brothers Gonna Work It Out. So high tempo, club electronic. And in the notes in the brief, they may tell us it's too clubby, it's too fast. So we need something slower. We need something less electronic. And we need lyrics talking about good cop, bad cop. So in every brief that we get, every word, every adjective, every noun that's articulated in the email is there for a reason. And sometimes we don't have all the information. We only have what's there. So what we do in our process is we map out what we know about the scene, what's the film. We have to use our imagination and get into that scene and find the best matching song. So a lot of times if a super tells us, hey, Coldplay's Yellow was temped in, we couldn't clear the track because it was too expensive. So give us a song a la Coldplay's Yellow. So, perfect. So right there, we can nail it. We can listen to that, and we call it A-B, reference the track, try and match that vibe, Chris Martin's vocals, the lyrics of that song. So it's there's no guesswork there. But other times, a good example, we recently landed a placement for our band, The Love of People. And the brief that came in was an art scene. And so we landed a song called Rat Race, and it synced up neo soul, chill vibes. You're at an art scene, you're at LACMA. And those are the types of nuances that as agents, we know in and out. Another good example, we got a second placement in Shrinking was, you want to talk about our friends over Matt he was a Belmont alumni as well?
Yeah, I just got in that same show, Shrinking, with Harrison Ford and I forget that other actor's name. Hilarious comedy actor. First placement that we were able to secure for this artist. So, major deal on their front. And pretty sizable placement too. You got it was one of those what they call trans-diegetic placements where it starts out where it's supposed to be kind of implied that the characters in the show can't hear the music. It is just this soundtrack theme song for what's going on, and then it sort of morphs into it's actually coming from this jukebox or this radio from the corner of the room or whatever. And it was super cool. One of the things that really struck me about that placement was this artist, they have a lot of really syncable songs. And they're, all of the factors for what could make you as an artist, be highly likely to get synced, they have. They're fully one-stop. Matt, writes, plays, and produces all of the music himself. So it's a one-man show on this sort of thing. What struck me as interesting is that of the songs that we have from them, the song that got placed, this first song that we were able to secure a placement for this artist, was not even in my top 5 of the songs that I would have thought would have been the first ones to get placed. So to some extent, the sync space is a little bit of a coin flip. You know what I mean? It's such a such a individualized stovepipe, or what do they call it? Stovepipe bureaucracy, that there's no way to guarantee any one song for one placement. But the more that you're getting that music out there, the more that you're getting the eyes of the supervisors and the ears of the supervisors, the more likely at some point there's going to come a need for something that you have the exact thing that fits it.
Yeah, that's the overarching, something we'll dive into more in future podcasts. But yeah, Chase, you hit it on the nose, is, we're selling emotion. So a good analog I like to use is, let's say we're in the paint business. We're selling cerulean blue. There's a million shades of blue, red, green, and every paint maker has their skill set. But what comes down to the sync agent is knowing and exploiting and marketing the catalog of our indie artists, really drilling down and knowing what we have. And the key thing is, when we get a brief, we have to nail it. For argument's sake, if a music super goes out to their short list of 10 pitching agents, and they get 5 songs each from 10 agents, that's 50 songs. And if their deadline's 3 hours from now, if half the songs don't work, they just wasted an hour listening to these tracks. So it's critical, and a good sort of segue of what we do when working with our artists is ensuring that, lyrics are provided in the metadata. We get calls, emails, chasing down assets, if you will. Why is it important to have lyrics? Well, we use the Disco platform. We can search and tag our songs in Disco. So if we get a brief, sometimes they're very specific. We need a song. There's a soldier on the shores of a foreign country. There's a war breaking out, and the lyric needs to reference missing home, longing for home, and seizing the day, carpe diem. Very specific there. So we're going to have to drill down, find those lyrics, because if we're calling through 5,000 to 10,000 songs, that's a tall order. So metadata, something that we'll talk about in future podcasts, and also mentioned last time, March 19th, we're going to have a seminar, Sync 101. We'll delve into what are the key metadata that we look for. And for those who don't know, metadata is basically, we refer to it as a digital business card that ensures you get paid, you're contacted, your piece of music that you send to an agent or to a company or a production, rather, you're credited. So that's something, if you check out our IG page, there'll be a wait list. It's going to be a 1 hour Zoom, April 19th at 10 a.m. Chase and I are going to be hosting that. It's going to be a great time. So you can check that out. And with the art of the pitch, one other thing to share, Chase, if you want to touch on, you as a blues rock artist, when you're writing songs, what have you found in your process? You've been with me for a minute now, and in your experience working with an agent, what would your advice be to an indie artist as far as when you're in the creative process? How might it differ with working with a sync agent?
So you're asking, as far as like how is the art of like matching a song to a placement different from the art of creating a song, essentially? Yeah, Bingo. And that's a huge subject in the field of sync, because the thing is, you want your song to be as movable as possible, as applicable to as many scenes as it possibly can be, because it's all a numbers game. Like, there's no way to guarantee your song is going to get any specific placement. But at the same time, you also have to make sure that the core of what you're creating is still from your artistic expression and isn't just a formulaic, crafted almost mechanical thing that just suits only this one purpose. It's also got to speak to people on an artist level. Now, also, when you're talking about sync, it's so multifaceted. There is space for those people who just want to produce, 5 tracks a week, you know what I mean, and just pump new stuff out that's not necessarily inspired from a vision, but it's just like, this is just stuff that works. There's space for that. But a lot of what we work with is independent artists seeking placements in predominantly film and TV that requires that independent artist sound, that requires that it sounds like it comes from someone who's inspired. And the reason that is because in these types of scenes, the implementation of it is that the characters of that film or TV show would reasonably be listening or have this kind of music in their head in the background. It applies to the musical palette of whoever the characters of that scene may be. And so if you don't have that artist inspiration, that foundational level of like, I'm going after this vision of something, it's not going to have that true artist persona about it that would make an audience believe that this is a track this person's actually just jamming on the radio. You know what I mean? So within that, just to wrap it up real quick, it's all about following what inspires you and what you get excited about as an artist, but then knowing when and what to filter as far as what you're creating so that it doesn't branch off in a direction that makes it so niche that it's not, you'd have to find the 1 in a million scenes that it would actually work for.
Yeah. Chase, there's some overarching points and to drill down there. I think, what you were expressing and to pull out of it. And, we were on some panels last week and we're seeing across the board from music supers is, there's a glut of songs that folks write that are, they're looking for authenticity, because music becomes the third character in a scene. So I always use Grey's Anatomy as an example. When you see a song synced up in that scene or a scene in Grey's, you would have thought the song was custom written by the band, lyric for lyric, phrase for phrase, the feel, and it syncs to picture, and it's the marriage of the picture and the music together. And, we're selling emotion, the production's selling emotion. And then the next day on Twitter, the blogosphere, everyone's talking, oh my God, did you see, Stranger Things, Run Up a Hill, Kate Bush, and it stays with you and how the music's married to it. So what Chase was saying and what, authenticity of, the lead character in a show could have a teenager who's what are they listening to? Pop or hip hop in their headphones or going to school. So when we're looking for independent artists, sort of one measure that we look at is, I come from a radio DJ background, so I'm looking for tracks that are what I define as radio friendly. I'm looking for the hook, looking for the feel, the storytelling. So if those come out in the song, I'm going to pitch those radio friendly tracks that have a vibe, because then that's going to translate. If I'm playing the odds of Vegas, it's going to be sync friendly, because if with Entourage, there's a montage scene, the crew's rolling into a club, they need 80s, 90s a la Chemical Brothers, Fatboy Slim, whatever the DJ EDM vibe might be. And then we're going to look at the lyrics, the hook, what storytelling is happening. So those are all, the through line is authenticity, the production, the sound of the track. And that's something we're going to offer up in the future is feedback sessions that folks can submit a track. We'll give them feedback on the sync friendliness of the song. Chase is an artist. He has his expertise there. Also went to music school at Belmont. And what's exciting also in the future, we'll have some guest listening panelists we've got label reps, publishing reps. They'll lend their ear and their insights as to what they look for on the label side. So stay tuned for that, things to look for. But that was just a great synopsis of what we look for when we're pitching songs. And next week's episode, we're going to take a deeper dive and look at there's certain buckets, party songs, love songs. We'll peel the layers back and get into it. And don't forget, if you like what you heard and saw today, subscribe. Post your comments, what things you'd like to hear on future episodes of SyncRiffs. And with that, we'll catch you on the other side. Have a great one, guys, and rock and roll.
Go.